You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Solana, I think you slept in. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 233 of the Battered Herons podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, and alongside me is usually Mr. Daniel Solana for Cafecitos with the Herons. He is possibly running late, possibly still sleeping. So we're going to get started without him. I'm sure he'll jump on in a second or two. With that said, we're talking Messi today. We're talking Leagues Cup. The group stage is finally over. And I would say shout out to those people joining us. But it looks like these comments were from like an hour ago. So good on you, Mez, for waking up really early, and the Prophet, whenever it was that you sent that message. We're talking Messi, Leagues Cup. The group stage finally set. We have our bracket, and it looks like there's a good chance that Inter Miami can head all the way to the final, kind of like last year, without ever facing a Liga MX team. On the bottom right, I have the image up. On the bottom right of the bracket is where Inter Miami is. And I'll do a close-up real quick. This is the bracket, which we'd have to deal with these 8 teams in order to get to the semifinals. There's only 2 Liga MX teams in these bottom 8. And of those 2 Liga MX teams, they play each other in this knockout round. So there's only one Liga MX team that we could possibly play against on our way all the way to the semifinals. And when you look at the top of that bracket, up top, who we would possibly play in the semifinals, I believe there are only 3 Mexican teams. And even then, those 3 Mexican teams outside of Cruz Azul, I don't think any of those, and I don't even think Cruz Azul is playing well so far this year. So there's a good chance that Cincinnati comes out of that also. So there's a chance that Inter Miami possibly only plays against Tigres or Pachuca on the way to the semifinals, obviously if they make it that far. And then in the semifinals, they possibly play against Cincinnati. And out on the West Coast, I mean, LAFC is strong, Galaxy is strong, you have Club America there. There's a good chance that you get a Liga MX team coming out of there. But in reality, Inter Miami ended up with a pretty nice draw outside of the fact that they have to play against Columbus if they beat Toronto, because I would assume Columbus beats Sporting KC. But they beat Columbus just a month ago, and that was without healthy Suarez. So I think that there's a good chance that Inter Miami can make it almost all the way to the semifinals and not have to play against the Liga MX team. Now, that kind of ruins the fun of Liga MX, because obviously the reason that everybody likes the idea of Liga MX is because you get to play against teams that you don't usually play against. But as far as making it far in this tournament, there's a legit chance that we get far without having to play a Liga MX team. Shout out to Tarun from India. Mitch is joining us, and Peaches from the UK. What's going on, Peaches? And what's going on, Mr. Daniel Solana? How you doing?
Doing well. My bad, I'm a couple minutes late, but my son decided to wake up at 3:30 in the morning and ask for food. I mean, and then he didn't want to go back to bed.
My kids do that all the time, but they're always asking for water for some reason. It's like, yeah. I don't know what happens in their dream, but they're like, I need water. And they're constantly waking up in the middle of the night asking for water.
Yeah, I mean, he literally woke up at 3:30. He's like, hey, can I get a protein bar? Like a bar. He has like these little bars. I was like, no, bro, it's 3 a.m. Go back to bed. So
what's going on? Pure Vibes Only from India. Shout out to you for joining us. Well, I mean, I want to say early in the morning for you, but I have a feeling that just about everybody, outside of maybe Mitch, that's joining us right now, it's either early afternoon, maybe even the evening for you guys. But shout out to you guys for joining us live. So I was talking about the Leagues Cup. The bracket is set, and like I was saying, this is the whole bracket, right? We're in the bottom right corner in the East. But when you look at that bottom right side, there's only 2 Liga MX teams. And they play against each other right now in the round of 32. So one of them is going to be gone. So there's a chance that Inter Miami can make it all the way to the semifinals and only play against one Liga MX team, and possibly not even them, because maybe NYCFC or the Revolution have a good run and they eliminate one of those. So there's a chance that Inter Miami, kind of like last year, avoid all Liga MX teams all the way to the final, and who knows, maybe even in the final.
Yeah, I mean it is possible, and I mean, and it would be extremely lucky for them to get to be able to do that again, not have to face one of the harder teams, or I guess the teams from the harder league, quote unquote. And yeah, but I mean, let's not forget that if we beat Toronto tomorrow,
Columbus.
that next game is either Columbus or Sporting. Both games, would be away, either team, and either of those atmospheres is a tough atmosphere. I mean, I know Sporting isn't having the greatest year, but playing in Kansas City is not an easy task for any team. So that's going to be a tough game regardless. Now, if we qualify to that next matchup, to that quarterfinal, do you know if it's a home game or not, or does it depend on who the team is?
You mean against Tigres or Pachuca?
Or New England NYC.
Okay. The only MLS teams that we would host are Toronto, which we're doing now, and Colorado, which I don't even think they made it to the group stage. I don't know. It's Colorado. Oh, I think Colorado did make it.
They did. They play Juarez.
That is the only way that we host an MLS team. So if we make it to the final against Colorado, then we host. Outside of those two MLS teams, every single MLS team, we would have to go on the road. Now, Liga MX teams, they have hubs, but to a certain point. I believe Club America is the one that has the hub all the way to, I think it's like the semifinals maybe. If we were to play Tigres or Pachuca, we would host again. Because they don't have, the Tigres hub doesn't go all the way to the quarterfinals.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, yeah. So, well, then they would have to be essentially they'd have to go on the road until the final.
Unless they play against Tigres or Pachuca.
Right.
And but when you look at these 8 teams, which like Columbus, obviously, right? But Sporting KC, I think we could beat. Toronto, I think we can beat. New England, bad team this year. I think we could beat. NYCFC in that Yankee Stadium. That's kind of weird. I hate playing in that stadium. They have a crazy home field advantage because they're accustomed to playing in that narrow field. But I would like to think that we have an opportunity to win there. Even though I think that because of that, I think they could upset either Pachuca or Tigres if they were to play. I don't think that Tigres or Pachuca are accustomed to playing in such a narrow field. I think that we have a good chance of beating just about all these teams, except for Columbus. I think would be very tough. And Tigres, again, even though after Saturday, I feel better about our matchup against Tigres. But Tigres and Columbus would be the only teams that worry me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Those would be probably the only two that would cause, Inter Miami some issues. But Danny, you got to remember that this is a tournament where, if you tie, you go directly to penalties. Some teams, especially some of the MLS teams, when they play us, they might want to play a low block. They might want to defend, and take it to
penalties.
Correct. Inter Miami usually gives up at least one goal. And if the other team can get one and they can defend, so that's why it's these tournaments where you have the knockout stages and all that are just very, very tough to gauge, just because you don't know what can happen. Anything can happen in these tournaments, and you've seen it in the first round. The first round was completely wild. All the MLS teams, beating most of the Liga MX teams was wild. I don't think a lot of people expected that, and even though it happened last year. In the first round. But, I thought there was going to be a much better showing from some of the Mexican teams. I saw that 21, I think it was 21 out of 28 MLS teams or something like that made it to
21 out of 28. Yes. And then 11 out of the 18 from Liga MX. So percentage wise, I believe it was like 72, 73% for MLS and like 61, 62 for Liga MX. So, I mean, pretty good, almost even, I think, on both sides.
Absolutely. I mean, overall, only eight teams didn't make it from one side and 7 from the other side.
Yeah.
So just like you said, pretty even. But I did expect a better showing from Liga MX, and I'm surprised by some of the MLS sides.
But you know what? A lot of people say that it's not fair to gauge Liga MX based on that because they play on the road. Fair to an extent. I think that the group stage, you haven't been on the road that long. Like, it's just a regular road game. You just got here. I don't think that should be an excuse, and especially for the hub teams. Now, when you're talking about the knockout stage later on, they've already been on the road for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks almost. Then I get that, right? Then it's a little more unfair. And I wish that they did play home games. But to say that those games don't count because they were on the road the whole time, you just started playing on the road. I don't think that it has as much of a bearing on the result as the knockout stage games.
No, for sure. And I was listening last night to battered MLS fans, and Lewis from the Portland. He's a Portland and I think Leon.
Leon,
right?
yeah.
And I heard him mention how Leon was basically in Portland for an entire week, or in the city for an entire week, and that the Portland guys are going to sleep in their bed. Like, dude, I didn't want to get into it, and I wasn't on the show. I was just listening, but honestly, that's BS. It's not like these guys are staying at a Days Inn or at a Holiday Inn. These guys are probably staying at the Ritz-Carlton or one of the nicer hotels. They have nice beds. They're getting fed really good food. These guys are on vacation. These guys are not, on a like it's just not like that. Like, you don't have to feel sorry for them. It's not like they're sleeping in a gutter. They are. It's nice. Like, and it's not like they had to travel from city to city, which also makes a difference. What like other teams had to do. So that whole thing about sleeping in your own bed and all that I think that's BS. I don't believe that. I don't believe in that.
I agree to an extent. I think after you've been gone for 2-3 weeks, like even in the NBA or those long road trips, they're like, yo, this is tiring after it's been a week and you've been. So, like I said, group stage, I don't think there's any excuse. Now, once you get to like the round of 16 and you've already been on the road for 2-3 weeks, then I like, okay, I get it, right? Nobody wants to be on the road, hotel or not, that long. But up to right now, I'm with you. I don't think it makes that big a difference.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, one thing that was interesting, now that you brought up last night's show, last night on the Battered MLS Fans, it was West Coast heavy. We had Fabian, which lives in San Jose and does just general MLS talk. We had Lewis, who does from Portland, and then we had Eric from LAFC.
From the Voices of Black and Gold, right?
Right. And the three of them were, well, they said something surprising, which I don't know why I hadn't realized. Here on the East Coast, we kind of shrug off the Leagues Cup, right? We're like, nobody really cares, blah, blah, blah. And the West Coast, because there's such a high population of Mexican Americans and Liga MX fans, over there in the West Coast, the Leagues Cup is really big. And they were talking about how you go outside and you see more Chivas jerseys, more America jerseys, more Tigres jerseys than you do MLS jerseys. And I had never considered the fact that in the West Coast, Leagues Cup is huge compared to what it is here in the East Coast. And, the MLS is a huge league, and we don't really consider the fact that the West Coast is a whole other world as far as the league is concerned. And that's another reason, because over there, like they're selling like that Chivas San Jose game, 50,000 at Levi Stadium. The one in Galaxy against Chivas, I think it was like another 30, 40, 50,000. Like those teams pack those stadiums, and in the West Coast, it's just a different feel.
There's no doubt, and I think you're even missing a part of the U.S. that they might not have mentioned, because unfortunately I didn't get to watch the whole show. But and that's the Midwest, man. The Midwest has a very, very big Mexican population. I mean, I lived in Kansas City for 3 years.
Did you?
Mexican. Yeah, I did. That's where I went to school. I was on a soccer scholarship out there. So yeah. And dude, I mean, there's a huge Mexican population. Chicago has a huge Mexican population.
Yeah,
and
Chicago does for sure.
And of course in Texas, and you saw that with Tigres versus Inter Miami last week. It was 45, 50,000 people, and it was a sea of yellow. There was not a lot of pink, that we're used to seeing, especially when Inter Miami plays away games. And it doesn't matter if it's East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. If Inter Miami's playing, you're seeing a lot of pink, and you didn't see a lot of pink on Saturday night. You saw a lot of yellow. Tigres had a full Tigres week, in Houston. So, I mean, that goes to show you everywhere else other than, Miami and some other East Coast places. Yeah, there is a very heavy population. And you remember, these folks don't get to see their teams live that often. And so they're gonna, they're gonna show up. They're gonna see their team, and they're gonna talk about it. We just don't have that huge of a population down here for us to hear about it. But even last year when Inter Miami played Cruz Azul, there was a few Cruz Azul fans, but not as much as you would expect.
I was sitting in the Cruz Azul section.
I know.
By coincidence.
I know. But still, it wasn't like that much. It's not like they filled up an entire it's not like they filled up the entire South Stand, right?
No.
Which is what you would expect if Inter Miami played Tigres at home, or Inter Miami played America or Chivas. Most likely, that whole South Stand is going to be just that one fan base. And again, you're also talking about different teams. So different teams have different fan bases. I heard Tommy talking about how Atlanta played, Santos, and they had some Santos folks show up, but then they played against DC, and they played DC 3 times this year. And so, Danny, I think that's another reason why, on the East Coast or on the east side of the bracket, you're not seeing, you're not seeing the fans show up or whatever. And that might be because, look, a lot of the games you're getting repeats of MLS games. And we're seeing that a lot.
Well, Eric from the LAFC was saying that they played San Jose 6 times last year.
Yeah. Look, we're about to play Toronto for the second time in a month.
In a month.
Yeah. I would have much rather played Pachuca.
Well, luckily Nashville got grouped, because if they wouldn't have, there's a chance that we would have played them again. I think they might have been matched up against, Columbus, if I'm not mistaken. There's a chance. Imagine playing against Nashville again. We've already played them, I think, 4 times this year. No, this would have been a 5th.
Yeah, it's that's what I'm saying. It just I love the Leagues Cup, and I tweeted it out earlier, last week. Yeah. I love the fact that there's games every night, but I still think that there's some tweaking that they need to do in terms 100%. Of scheduling and trying to. At the end of the day, I don't want to say that they need to, fix the group stage, but I think they should. They should put the teams that they're going to get the most fans and try to get the more exciting matchups. The first rounds. At least that's my opinion. That's what I think about that.
I agree, and they should really try to mix it up. And I understand that it's travel that kind of ruins it, the size of our country. But it would have been really cool to see Inter Miami play against a San Jose, against the Galaxy in this tournament, and figure out a way to make that happen, because I get that you put us against Eastern Conference teams, and in this case, we got 2 Mexican teams, but that you put those Eastern Conference teams together, but we played them already so many times. Let's play somebody new. I think that's the fun of these tournaments, is when you start playing against new competition. Now, before we move on, you brought up the battered fans, and we also have battered Herons en Español, 2 new channels, and I'm going to put the links out there. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe. And what I'm going to do is, and I'm only doing this on the Miami show, right? Some of you guys are Inter Miami fans, and you guys know about the Miami Fusion. Now, courtesy of my guy, Joe Shaw, we got some Miami Fusion scarves here. I'm going to give one away. All you have to do to get this Miami Fusion scarf is just follow those 2 channels. If you follow, it's going to be a giveaway, right? Somebody's going to win it. I'm not going to give it to everybody. I don't have enough. But if you're following both channels, I'm going to pick a winner. As long as you are following both those channels, Battered Herons en Español and Battered MLS fans, I'm going to go ahead and see who's following both, put it in a little wheel, and we're going to announce the winner next Cafecito with the Herons next week. So Miami Fusion scarf for whoever's following both of those, and then we move on.
Am I in that as well? I mean, I'm subscribed to both. I'm just curious. That scarf is badass, and it would match.
I got you one for free. Don't worry about it.
Oh, nice.
I got you.
Nice.
Yeah. And Joe is the man. Joe Shaw is my guy. He's going to be repping on the Battered MLS Fans show. He will be on there representing Dallas, because he is a Dallas FC fan. So he will be on there possibly next Tuesday. So, so if you haven't checked out Battered MLS Fans already, go ahead and subscribe. It's fun. We've had 3 shows already. We've had, almost half the league represented. No, not half. Maybe a third of the league already represented in the first 3 shows.
Yeah, good.
So, we're going to keep going with that. All right. So you were talking about the way Tigres really showed up. Their fans really showed up. But do you think if Messi would have played, we would have seen more pink jerseys in Houston?
Yes. Yes, I do think so. And I think it's very unfortunate, Danny, and we talked about it on our Discord. And for those of you that don't follow the Discord and are paying attention, it's fantastic. We have some really good discussions back and forth, and we talked about it on the Discord. Yesterday, talking about some of these players and teams and how folks aren't showing up to these games, and it's just a shame, because you've got players like Suarez, Busquets, Jordi Alba, and I know I continue to say this. We say this over and over and over again, and the fans don't want to show up for whatever reason. And I don't think it's ticket pricing. You're putting it up right there. They sent that email out yesterday. Everybody who has ever purchased an Inter Miami ticket received that email yesterday. I confirmed because I got some other buddies that got the email as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't have to be a season ticket holder.
Look, we just bought tickets for $28 yesterday. We're going to the game. Mm-hmm. Dude, where can you pay $28 and go watch that type of soccer? You're going to have 6 world-class players on the field at one time.
Because Toronto also brings it with Bernardeschi, Insigne.
That's exactly what and not only that, but they've got great players, Etienne, Larrea. So they've got a great team.
Even Sean Johnson, as far as MLS goes, he's one of the better goalies in MLS's history.
Right. It's not the most attractive matchup, right, Danny? Toronto, it's not the most attractive. We much would have rather played Pachuca, probably with a fresher matchup. Something new. But look, this is some great football that's being played out there and some great players. So for those of you that don't get to watch or get to see these players every single day, which is a lot of us, I mean, this is a great opportunity to go out to the game. I know it's a Thursday night. I know it's it's going to be.
I think that has a lot to do with it, though. I think the fact that it's a weekday games are always a hard sell. Even when Messi's playing, even though it sells well when Messi's playing, but even when Messi's playing, it's a hard sell. Weekday games, especially for fans in Miami, because you get out of work late. And I don't know if you've ever traveled on the weekdays over there. There's a part on the turnpike. I forget where it is. It's after like exit, I don't know, maybe like 40 or it's before the Hard Rock. And it takes me 30 to 35 minutes to get through like a mile. It's a pain in the ass. And then when you get there, after you paid, I mean, these ticket prices that they dropped are great. But after you get there, like you said, you pay $28 a ticket. For 2 tickets, that's $56. Then you have to add the $50 parking. Like it's, you know what would have been great if in that email they would have said, "Hey, you get a tour and parking is included." Then it's like, okay, that's a great fucking deal compared to what I usually get. But if I got to pay $50 for parking, you're killing me.
I mean, I can always call Chris and have Chris yell at his rep a little bit and see if they can get me a free pass.
Yeah, that for sure.
But also the other option is to park. And again, I saw a lot of people in the Discord talking about it. They park 1 or 2 blocks away. They pay $15-$20 instead of the 50 and they walk. That's another option. Now, I'm old now. I don't like to walk as much, but I'm just kidding. We'll probably park a couple blocks away and do that to save money. But I mean, personally, I do enjoy parking in the yellow lot when I go because I do like the atmosphere that and I'm not going to say Inter Miami created the atmosphere. The fans just created it themselves. I do like the fact that you get there 1.5 hours before the game and there's people grilling and there's choripans here, milanesas over there. Some of the American guys are doing their hamburgers and hot dogs and stuff. I love that. I love that it's like that. And there's families out there playing and there's kids playing. And there's a ball out there. There's nothing more than I love than that. So it sucks that if you got to go park across the street, I guess you don't really get all that because you park at the Holiday Inn or at the Dunkin' Donuts across the street. And I mean, it's a different vibe.
I don't think I've gone to any weekday games this year, but last year, at least when there was a weekday game, the fan zone was non-existent. Well, they wouldn't do anything for the fan zone. So the front of the stadium, at least by the yellow lot, was basically dead. I don't know if they changed it this year. So there's a lot of things that don't happen on weekdays.
The biggest thing they changed this year in terms of that fan zone is that if you don't have a ticket, you can't be part of the fan zone anymore because they put the gate, they put a fence around that whole area, which I think
it's part of the stadium now.
I think it's a good thing, but I also think it stinks because it was really nice to have that free open area right outside the stadium, be able to walk around, be able to enjoy it. I understand why they did it though, because if you don't have a ticket, You know, or you don't want folks that don't have tickets coming around and doing that stuff and participating. I get it. It makes sense. But I
Well, the
really
reason
loved
I
it when it
like
was
it,
open.
I like it because now it's part of the stadium. So when you used to go into the stadium, you couldn't go back out to the fan zone.
Correct.
And now you can go back and forth. Like during halftime, I go out to that area now and I buy from those food trucks that are out there. So
okay.
So I like that they did that, but I I understand what you're saying. Also, it is very constrictive when you see that big fence around the whole thing. It looks a little odd.
And not only that, but also, you know, because they put that fence up and they put an extra entrance right there.
Mhm.
That entrance gets really backed up, and so it gets a little confusing on what side you should go in on or whatever. They need to relook at that again. The other thing, and again, not trying to get into this, you know, going against Inter Miami and their day-to-day operations in terms of game day, but let me tell you, man, I went to the game the last two games. I've been to the last two games, and took my son to both games. Took his baby bag to both games. Same exact one. Game one, no problem. Game two different people told me you can't bring that bag in. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was here a week ago. I brought the same bag. I take the same bag, Danny, it's not see-through either. It's just a baby bag. Take the same one to the Heat games. Take the same one to the Marlins games. Take the same ones to the Dolphins games. Never had an issue.
They've always been
Never had an
sticklers
issue.
about the clear bag. That 100%. I know that they've always been that. Now, one thing that did bother me, and I wasn't thinking about bringing it up, but you just said it, and I just remembered. My wife is pregnant. Usually, they tell us not to go through those metal detectors when you're pregnant, and they wouldn't allow her to not go through, like through the outside. And we're like, you could just wand her. That's what most places do. Like they get the wand and they put it so she doesn't have to walk through that thing. They say that you shouldn't walk through those things. Now, is it true? Is it a myth? I don't know. But people say don't walk through those things. And they were giving us a big issue because they didn't want her to walk around. They wanted her to walk through. Now, I don't know who's in charge of the security and letting people know some of the things with some people that maybe shouldn't walk through those things. But if you are for an office, I don't know. Sometimes you guys watch, sometimes you don't. Talk to the security people. Let them know if there's somebody that's pregnant. Let them walk around and just warn them because they shouldn't have to walk through the metal detector. Because my understanding is that you shouldn't do that when you are pregnant. So just a random thing to throw out there.
That thing doesn't even work anyways. Sometimes you walk through the thing with your keys, you forget to carry it doesn't even go off. Look, man.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
Good.
No, go. I don't know what's funny. What's funny?
I have I have two metal plates and 9 screws in my ankle, on my right ankle. And the very first time, very first time I walked through a metal detector, I walked through, I looked back, and then I like lifted up my leg to put it through again to see what the hell. It never went off. I don't know what kind of metal they put in my foot. I don't know if it was like a Hialeah doctor put, who knows what I have in there, but that thing never goes off. There's no metal in there.
It's not metal, bro. He put something else in there. So
yeah,
hey, but
I don't know.
But even at the airport, I think you can tell them, hey, I don't want to go through that machine. Can you wand me down or at other places? So I know that they can do that. So it's just really weird. I don't understand why you can't just ask, hey, I would not prefer not to go in there. I prefer to get wanded down. I don't know.
Because they said that it's sensitivity settings. Maybe I have no idea if that's accurate or not, but maybe. And you know what? It's titanium. It's funny because I was gonna say that, but I was like, let me not. I'll go with the Hialeah. Mitch, I'm subscribed to the entire Battered Fan Network. Can't wait for the Miami Heat show to come back. Mitch, shout out to you. We really appreciate you kicking it and supporting the Battered Fans Network. And the Heat show will be coming back probably towards the whole media day, which is late September. So we're trying to set up our schedules. A lot of things going on outside of Battered Fans. All right, Absolutely. So Messi. Suarez said he might come back sooner. People are speculating he wants to come back to play for Argentina in September when they go to Colombia and play in Argentina. What do you think about the Messi situation? Pun intended.
Look, man, he's always said it before, country before club.
I get that.
He's the type of guy that, but he's also the type of guy that always wants to play, no matter what, whether he's 50, 60, 70, 80%. He wants to be there with his team. And I think you know, when they pan on him, over the last few games that he's been in his box, while sometimes he's smiling and he looks like he's having a good time, I know deep down inside he's hating having to be there and not being able to be on the field. So, I don't know what to make of the fact of the question of, if he's back, is he going to wait to not play with Inter Miami and just play with the national team? I don't know about that. I think if you're Messi and you're at the age where you're at, you'd probably want to test yourself before you go play with the national team. And what better test than, possibly playing a semifinal or final of a Leagues Cup, whether it be the whole game or whether it be a half or even 20 minutes. I think if he's 80%, I think he'll get some minutes just because he's just a big difference maker. And just having him on the field is just huge for Inter Miami because he can take 1 or 2 marks, from somebody else and open a lot of spaces. So not even having the ball, he can be a decoy, even if he's not 100%. So I think there's a better chance of him coming back and playing maybe one game before he goes to the national team than him not. So I'd be on the lookout.
In the Discord, I read some people that were saying that Inter Miami fans obviously over Argentina, right? They're probably not Argentinian, that they weren't happy about the fact that he would be coming back and then going to play with Argentina because it feels like every time he plays with Argentina, he comes back to us injured, right? That could not be, might not be the case, but it has happened a few times. What do you think? Do you think that Inter Miami fans should be frustrated that he's going to go? He just won Copa America. That he wants to go and play in these 2 qualifier games, seeing as how they could probably win without him. But Inter Miami probably does need him a little more than Argentina needs him at this moment. And he's missed the last, 2 months. Do you think Inter Miami fans should be frustrated at the fact?
I mean, I'm not going to tell Inter Miami fans what to do. You could do whatever you could do whatever you want to do. You could be mad at him. You could not be mad. But I'll tell you what I think. I personally, I respect him. He's like I said,
it's country over club always.
He's always said it, and not only that, Danny, but it's more of a South American mentality. I think in South America, a lot of the players just love to represent their country. They love to get that call from the national team coach.
I think European players also. I think everybody around the world likes to represent their country.
No, absolutely. I'm just maybe a little bit more biased, and we're kind of 100%. Talking about Messi here. We're talking about Messi here.
Okay. So all right.
So again, not only that, but you said it. He just won the Copa America, so that at that home game when they're playing that first home game in September, and I'm trying to look up to see who they play. I don't know who Argentina plays. I know Uruguay plays, Paraguay, and Venezuela.
I know they visit Colombia. They visit Colombia in September. My father was looking into tickets. I was like, I'm about to have a newborn baby. I can't go. But and they're playing in Barranquilla, and my dad wants to go out there.
Okay. So I got it here. So yeah, they play against Chile at home on September 5th, and then they play against Colombia in Barranquilla on September 10th. So that game on the 5th against Chile is going to be a huge party where they bring out the Copa America, where they celebrate, where everybody yells Messi, Messi. So look, man, you have to, as I know it sucks, but you can't be mad at Messi. Can you be mad at Don Garber? Can you be mad at the MLS? Absolutely. Why are they scheduling games when there's
no, they're not. Day? There isn't.
Oh, so then what are they mad about? That he's going to come back injured, dude?
Yes.
I mean, it's soccer, dude. I mean, you can get injured anywhere. You can get injured playing for Inter Miami. He can get injured at practice. He can get injured.
But I think I think people would rather him get injured playing for Inter Miami than for Argentina because hypothetically, let's say he comes back and plays against that Chicago game. The Chicago game is on August 31st, right? And then the next weekend is international break. If he gets injured again, then he might be out for the rest of September. All of a sudden, we go 3-4 months and we get one game out of Messi. I get it to an extent.
I understand, but still, I mean, again, to me, the player is always going to have, his choice of country over club, and if that's the way he feels, and that's the way he wants to go, because he can always say no. But again, he's the captain. He's,
Robert Taylor's the only one that says no to this stuff.
Yeah, but when's the last time Finland won anything? Or when's the last time Finland scored a goal? So
that's true.
obviously, why would you want to go and spend, a week in cold Finland or whatever, and lose 2 games, or know you're going to lose 2 games, or stay in sunny Miami and keep playing with Busquets and Jordi Alba?
Well, I think that Robert Taylor was a calculated decision. I think he knew that, like you said, Finland wasn't going to win anything, and this was his chance to finally get on the pitch. And he played pretty well at first. Yeah, he played pretty well at first.
Yeah.
So, just random thought that came to me. We were talking about it on that MLS show last night. Have you been watching the Olympics at all?
Yeah, of course.
You watched the women's soccer team
yesterday against Germany?
Yeah.
Good game.
Yes, it was. My question, I went to Dick's Sporting Goods. My daughter was looking for one of the kits. All you find is Pulisic jerseys. You don't find any women's jerseys. All the jerseys don't have the 4 stars. They should sell the women's jersey because that's the only one that has the stars across the over the badge. Now, yesterday on the MLS show, the guys from the West Coast were all saying that that's all you find on the West Coast. You find more women's jerseys than men's jerseys. Why do you think that is? Because over here, at least, we never find any women's jerseys.
I don't think the women's U.S. national team has a huge following down in South Florida.
But why?
Danny, I don't know. It could be, and I don't want to, say something I probably shouldn't say. But I just think it's the fact. No, but you know what I'm saying. I just think it's the fact that we have a lot of, a lot of folks that are immigrants and that watch a lot of European soccer and all that, and women's soccer, at least in South America, because we have a lot of South American immigrants, is not really that big. You haven't heard about a lot of women, South American women's teams do well in the World Cup or anything. Colombia just is the best team right now. Just recently, they've been doing fantastic things. I mean, they tied Spain. Unfortunately, they lost on PKs, right? But
they should have won. They were up 2-0 in like the 80th minute.
I know, but they have a great team. Other than that, you don't really hear about women's soccer in South America, and I think the fact that we have so many South American transplants, that probably has something to do with it, because the women's soccer, I think most of their fan base comes from Americans or folks that probably are from here, not a lot of second or third generation South American folks which is what we have a lot here in South Florida, as well as a big Cuban population, which they don't play a lot of soccer over there as well. So that's probably why. And the other thing, I mean, you shouldn't have gone to Dick's, bro. Come on, you should go to Soccer Locker, go to Mad About Soccer. They probably have the jersey there.
Mad About Soccer didn't have it either.
No? Wow. No. So try Soccer Locker. Tell them Danny sent you. Danny Solana sent you. Maybe you get a 10% discount.
I mean, you literally have 4 stars over the badge. It's the same exact kit.
They sell the Argentina jersey and they sell the Brazil jersey at Dick's. They don't sell the women's U.S. jersey. That's ridiculous. But I agree. But Danny, that goes to show you. That goes to show you who's the consumer in South Florida. That folks are buying Argentina and Brazil jerseys, Vinny jerseys and Messi jerseys over USA Pulisic jerseys.
I just put the link in the chat if anybody wants to call in. I get it. But I think that women's soccer is growing. And that goes to another point. When I've said a few times that the United States is so big that they should be and could be a major player in world soccer, even for men. The reason that we are so far behind is because we took so long to get into it. Now, what's happening with the women? Like you said, here, it's more popular for women to play than in other parts of the world. Europe is a lot more popular than it is in South America. But because we have so many women playing here, we kind of got a head start on them and the size of our country. Look at how good we are. We started way too late with the men. I think that maybe we can become much better in the future, hopefully. But
well, I don't think we started too late with the men. I just think because I think we just started, on time, or we were prepared because the men didn't start, as early as the rest of the world.
I guess in popularity,
the US was prepared. Yeah, I get it. I mean, but I still don't think that women's soccer is that popular in the United States. I mean, I don't know what the the women's league's numbers are or anything like that. But I don't think they get more than 15,000 fans, average per
No,
game. So
it's
it's
definitely
not as
just
big,
growing.
right? But
I'll
in
tell you
terms
something. I
terms
think
of
that the
national team, yeah.
women's team is more popular than any USL teams, or
Oh
it's
no,
on par.
no doubt, no doubt. But also, you also have to look at what I was going to refer to was you got to look at the player pool. So, and you basically said it. There's so many women that play, and the player pool here is so huge compared to the rest of the world. And that's where I think the U.S. excelled over the rest of the world in terms of women's soccer, because they were at the forefront of doing all this. And unfortunately, the men's hasn't caught up yet. The other thing, Danny, that we haven't mentioned is, I would say most of our more of the better women athletes are playing soccer, because you don't have that many professional sports in the United States. Whereas here you have NFL, NBA, MLB, and you have some of the athletes that are going to play those sports. So we've said it multiple times, on whether it be on the Spanish show or on the English show. Imagine having Tyreek Hill running down the right wing, and having, even LeBron James in his prime as your number 9. I mean,
well, I think that's the biggest downfall to the U.S. men's national team, is that it's the 4th most popular sport. Maybe some people might even say 5th behind hockey, which I don't think. I think soccer is much more popular than hockey in the United States. But even if you're just talking recreationally or with kids playing, I think soccer might even be, no, let's say 4th. But you had
soccer's the number 1 played sport by kids in the United States.
Yeah, but that's when they're like really young. Like once they hit like their teenage years, they start branching off to football and basketball. It's like they get into soccer like the first sport.
I guess so.
But I do think that, man, if we would, because for just about almost all the other countries across the world, almost, maybe not all of them, but almost, soccer is the number 1, 2, and 3 sport that's played there, right? Like that they live and die soccer. Here, it's the 4th. So all our top athletes, like you said, could you imagine LeBron James playing, I don't know, center back or center defensive mid, like, or striker, somebody of that size? Like,
I'm saying he could have been the American Haaland.
Imagine that. I think he might be even, he's taller than Haaland. Imagine him
going
for headers.
He is. Can you imagine Julian just, Gressel just centering the ball to LeBron? 6'6". Who's going to cover him? And he's got a big, he's got nice vert. He can, Julian Gressel can even screw up a little bit and put a little extra oomph on it, and LeBron James will still be able to get up and hit it. So, I mean, there you go. Instead of LeBron James, you got Ricardo Pepi and Florin Balogun and I don't know who else. But I mean, that's really the root of why I think the U.S. is so behind in soccer. Is you just have more professional sports here that are more I guess popular, and athletes are kind of called to those sports instead of soccer.
And they had such a bad year this year. The show in the Copa America was horrible. I think it was, and I may be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that they were the first host team to ever get grouped. So that they just lost the U20 CONCACAF championship to Mexico. They just got eliminated by Morocco in the Olympics. The women are the only team right now in the United States that is representing well for soccer. And the front 3 that they have at the moment, their trio of Trinity Rodman, Mallory Swanson, and Sophia Smith, like that trio right there, like they look good. And for those of you that hate, because one thing I hate about football, soccer, whatever you call it, I hate the acting, especially in South Americans, where they look like they got shot in the leg when they get tapped in the foot. In women's soccer, you don't see that. They don't start rolling around acting like they just died when they got tackled. No, they stand right back up and they keep playing. So I like watching the women's soccer. And Jorge Mas said that he was going to bring a women's team, or was it David Beckham, that they wanted to bring a women's team here to Miami. I'm still waiting on that news because I haven't heard anything about that yet.
Well, they brought a women's team to Fort Lauderdale. You have that new Fort Lauderdale team that's playing.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? And I've considered looking into going to those games and stuff, but like I want a Miami team. And also, I think it plays in a completely different league than it does than the other NWSL.
Yeah, I think it's the same league. I think it's the NWSL. Yeah. But you mentioned one thing here, and then I want to get back into women's soccer. But you mentioned the U.S. having a terrible summer, and I just wanted to point out. I don't know if you saw the whole U20 world championships or anything, but the U.S. won their first 3 games, the group games against Costa Rica, Cuba, and Jamaica by a combined score of 14-0. They couldn't score more than 1 goal on anybody else the rest of the tournament. Like, I don't understand how that happens. And it's not like they played worse teams. Like, they played Costa Rica, they won 1-0, Guatemala 1-0. I mean, for you to have that showing, score 14 goals in the opening round, and I think they had 8 or 9 against Jamaica in the opening game, but I mean, really poor showing to then end up losing to Mexico, especially after all the crap that the U.S. fans talk about Mexico and stuff. But all right, well, getting back into women's soccer, I wanted to mention they're not. I'm telling you, I dated. One of my girlfriends in college was on the women's soccer team. They are a lot more aggressive than the men. They are brutal, and they are worse than the men.
And even when they're not aggressive, talking about the men right now, they fake getting hit. Like they literally, I'm blanking on the word here. They dive. Flop? They dive. They flop. Thank you. They flop, and they act like they're dying. Like, it's frustrating. Like, get up, you little bitch. Stop acting like you just got shot. Like that infuriates me when I'm watching soccer. Absolutely infuriates me. I hate that part of soccer. And everybody's like, oh no, but it's something that they learn. You're taught to do that. That pisses me off so much.
I was at the last Women's World Cup. I don't want to say against, but I was kind of down on the whole women's soccer thing. And it's not so much, that I don't like it or that I'm against it. I just think that everybody talks about the U.S. so much. And, I believe they beat Tahiti like 10-1, or there was some crazy scores at the last World Cup, right? And to me, that's just not fun. Like, how could that be fun? You go into a World Cup and you're winning 10-0. Like, that's not soccer. I loved yesterday's game. Yesterday's game was amazing. It was back and forth. It was tight. The U.S.
and the final is on Saturday, USA versus Brazil, which is going to be a great game also. And I think Marta's still playing.
Well, we talked about it, man. So Marta is actually, I don't think you were here. I think I was talking to Chris about it. Marta got a red card a couple games ago. I don't know if you saw it, and she was crying. It was I don't know if you saw the play, but essentially it was like a dangerous play in the opposition's box, and she kind of like lifted up her leg, and it kind of hit the girl in the head. Could have been a yellow. She got a red. She was like not furious, but you could tell she was just. This is her last probably major tournament playing for Brazil. For sure. She got a red card, and good on Brazil to play for her and to get to the final so that she can possibly play that final. I'm looking forward to that game because, man, I can't stand Brazil. So I just, I'm going for the USA on this one. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is, look, the USA continues to produce amazing players. I mean, you had Heath playing on that right flank for so many years and playing fantastic. Abby Wambach, playing at 9 and all that. Then you had Carly Lloyd coming in. Then you had Alex Morgan. Now you have Trinity Rodman and Sophia Smith. I mean, they just continue producing talent after talent after talent. And they're really, really good. So, again, the U.S. is way ahead in terms of the men's on this. And really ahead of the whole world, really. And that's kind of what you would expect on all sports.
We got a caller here, Dami, joining us. What's going on, Dami?
Hey guys, going back to Inter Miami. How do you guys think we're really gonna do on the Leagues Cup? Or are we prioritizing the league after all?
I think they're going for the Leagues Cup, honestly. I mean, because it's not like you rest up because you want to get ready for the regular season game next weekend. Like, they're off one way or another. So I think they're going to go all in. And because of the depth that they have, I think they have enough pieces to rotate. I don't think Busquets starts tomorrow.
I think we're going to have really hard games coming up. We have this Toronto game, which is it's mild, but the next games will be Columbus potentially, and then Tigres or Pachuca potentially, and then Cincinnati potentially. It's just hard games where a lot of people can get hurt and won't be able to finish the season. So I don't know.
I agree.
But I think that's why Inter Miami has created the depth that they've created, right? Because now you can afford to have a couple of folks get injured and you still have that depth behind them where you can insert the player and there's not too much of a difference. So I'm with Danny here. I think, and the players have said it, Tata has said it. I think they're going to win or try to win. Again, there's no guarantee on who can get injured on what can happen in any game, but I think you have to go out there and try to win every trophy possible.
Yeah, of course. I hope we do win both just to get invited to that World Club, that tournament, and not be called the favorites of the league. You got to earn it.
I have a feeling that we're going to get invited one way or another. They're going to find a way to put Messi in that tournament.
They have to. But, haters.
For sure. All right, Dami, thank you for calling in, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Talking about haters, Danny, I'm curious, and we can bring the next caller on after, but where's all the cheating talk on LAFC? Because when Inter Miami started bringing all their players, it was all cheating talk and, why is Apple and MLS helping Inter Miami? And they're doing this. And, now there's Griezmann rumors, and they're hard. They're saying he's coming. Mm-hmm. It's not guaranteed, but they're saying, where are the cheating rumors? Where is the salary cap cheating? I'm curious, and again, I'm not trying to be a hater here. I'm just curious.
Right. And real quick, I put the link up for those of you who are asking how you call in. You just click on this link. On that, and I keep bringing it up, but it just happened last night. The show that we were on last night, Battered MLS Fans. We asked Eric, the LAFC fan. We asked him who he's most worried about. Like if they get Griezmann, who he's most worried about, or finds that could be the biggest challenge to winning the MLS Cup. And he said he's more scared of Columbus than Inter Miami. I think he's crazy for saying that, because a healthy Inter Miami team, I think, is the best team in the MLS. But with Griezmann, do you think that they are favorites to win it all over Miami if they land Griezmann?
Unfortunately, yes. And I have to wait. We're going to have to wait 9 more days, Danny, to see who else Inter Miami is going to decide to bring in with that international spot that they've acquired.
7 days. It's next Wednesday.
Sorry, 7 days. That's right. It was 9 on Monday. I'm still thinking we're on the Spanish show.
Yeah.
So we have 7 days, and I guess you're going to have to wait and see, what happens. But yes, if Inter Miami doesn't bring anybody else, in my opinion, LAFC, if they sign Griezmann, becomes the favorite. Now, if they don't and they just stick with who they have, just with the Giroud signing, then I don't think that they're the favorites. I think it's still Inter Miami and Columbus continue to be the favorites. But if Griezmann comes, no doubt they become the instant favorites to win the cup.
I think LA Galaxy, people are sleeping on them, and especially if they get Marco Ruiz, like everybody's saying that they might. I think that the Galaxy are going to be a problem, and those are the top 3 teams in the league right now: Galaxy, LFC, and Inter Miami.
I agree. I think the Galaxy could be a problem, but something that I see about their defense is they have a very, two center backs or at least one for sure that is extremely old in Cáceres, extremely old. And I know that because he's Uruguayan and he's probably more interested in fashion right now than he is into soccer, at least based on his Instagram stories. He's always like sewing stuff up. I don't know. He's into fashion,
right.
But I don't know, Danny. While Ricky Puig is really good and Marco Reus is going to be a fantastic addition, they have Joseph Paintsil and Gabriel Peck. They don't scare me as much as LAFC does, and I don't know if it's because I don't know, they just don't scare me as much. LAFC, especially with Griezmann. I mean, dude, Griezmann, Giroud, Bouanga. Oh, watch out, buddy.
I don't know if you remember how LA Galaxy were running up and down on us that second game of the season, but they were just. Yeah, but that attack is mighty. I think it might be a little underrated, actually.
It was also really early in the season. I think it was Inter Miami's second game, and it was the Galaxy's first game. So both teams are kind of just getting into it. So I think if they were to play now, things would be a little bit different.
I don't know. I think Galaxy is underrated, but I hope it ends up being like a Western Conference final. I think that would be an awesome game to watch.
A Tráfico for the Western Conference final would be nice.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that we end up with the Supporter Shield because I want to host a final if Inter Miami were to make it that far, obviously. Because hosting a Galaxy or an LAFC here in Miami for the MLS Cup would be
now, I'm curious. If it's LAFC, and I know they've said it over and over and over again, no, we will not move the game. No, we will play at Chase Stadium. If it's LAFC versus Inter Miami, are they moving the game?
No.
You really think they're going to only sell 21,500 tickets?
Yes.
That would be such a mistake. That would be such a mistake. They could get 50,000 at Hard Rock.
Where would they move it to? But
Hard Rock.
The Dolphins host the Jets the very next day,
and
they're not going to use the stadium 2 days in a row. One for football, one for soccer, one for football the next day.
And it would be so. The MLS is that Saturday before Dolphins Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, man. Italy's going to be in town, so I know you guys had on Italy yesterday on the preview show, so he'll be in town that day. It would be great to host the MLS Cup. We'll have to take him to the stadium.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the plan. I mean, it lands on my wedding anniversary. I already told my wife that's where we're going to spend our wedding anniversary if MLS makes if Inter Miami makes the MLS Cup, because I just can't miss that, especially if it's a home game.
Well, you got to put a happy anniversary on the halftime board. If not, it's not going to.
I do, right? Yeah, for sure. I think that you're right. And she just said logistically they would have to repaint the field with weird lines. Surely that wouldn't work. Yeah, I mean, and especially MLS Cup isn't played necessarily like at 1 p.m. It's like a late game, right? Prime time. So yeah, they're not going to do that. It's going to be played at Chase Stadium if they make the final. On top of the fact that Steven Ross hates the MLS. So I think that's it for today. Solana, any final words before we wrap it up here?
No, man. Looking forward to getting out to Chase Stadium tomorrow. If you haven't got your tickets yet, go get your tickets. It's going to be a great game. They're not that expensive, guys. Go out to the game, support the team, and also, if you like this merch, dude, I've been collecting some merch, man. Get on that Battered shop. It's they're comfy, bro. I like them. I wear them all the time now.
Yeah, and for anybody that's a Madrid fan, you can find this also on batterfans.com.
I didn't point out that shirt on purpose.
I know. No, a lot of people on here are gonna hate it, right? Because the majority are Barcelona fans.
I love the figure. I mean, I love the fact that you put. I love that you put him on there smoking a cigar. It is badass.
Yeah. And then again, for anybody that was hoping to get a Fusion scarf, again, just sign up to Battered MLS Fans Show channel, Battered Herons en Español, and then we will be choosing a winner next week on the Cafecito with the Herons. Jesus, I have to stop myself and remind myself what show I am on or what show I'm talking about sometimes before I start promoting stuff, because I get confused quite a bit. So there we go. I put both links there if you haven't already, and I'll put them in the description for anybody watching after the fact. All right, if you are listening on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end. Please leave us 5 stars, comment, review, all that other good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends that we have a Battered Herons show, and it's a Miami show. We come on here a billion times a week, so make sure that you subscribe to this. And for those of you in the chat that joined us from all over the world or early in the morning, if you're here in the East Coast, we appreciate you hanging out with us for the last hour. We hope that you guys have a great Wednesday. Started off your day with us, Cafecito with the Herons. It was fun for us. Hope it was fun for you. And we'll be back tomorrow for the post game. So until the next one, have a good one.